Okay, we are going to get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Dalton Kramer, and I am the marketing manager here at Armorock. Thank you all for joining us today to learn how to install our Armorock Polymer concrete products, and we are really excited to have you all. Here is just a quick overview of what we are going to touch on today. We are going to start with who is Armorock? What do we do? We're going to move into new installations, specialty installations, rehabs, and then wrap it up with our contractor references and some Q&A. With our Q&A, please feel free to put questions in the Q&A chat throughout. So we will answer them throughout and at the end. So continue to ask questions, and we are excited to have those answered for you. Also, at the end, we are going to have a 10-question Kahoot. For those of you who don't know what a Kahoot is, it will be explained at the end. But the top 3 winners of the Kahoot will win Armorock merchandise. So stick around for that, and it should be very fun. So our speakers today, we are really excited to have Jared Johnson out in Florida, Gary Carter in Northern California. We have Alex Schooley in Florida and Drew Tanner in Utah. So these are our amazing speakers. And without further ado, I am going to hand this over to Jared to talk about who we are at Armorock.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Go ahead and push play on that video, Dalton. This is just a good representation of who we are. Armorock started as Geneva Pipe and Precast in 1956. At the time before we sold it off, it was a third generation company. Second generation was Vince Buccio. That's the man in blue we just saw there. When he came out of college, he saw that his family's business was losing market share due to corrosion and product breaking down our concrete structures, and he wanted to do something about it. And during that process, they started lining our manholes to help protect from the corrosion that you see in the background there. That corrosion is caused from H2S. It absorbs into the concrete and it makes it soft and flaky to the point where you can literally shove a number 2 pencil through the wall. So it just wasn't sustainable. Part of his processes was to find a way to protect the concrete. So we did the natural thing of spray lining our product. We would use rubber coatings. That inevitably would fail. We'd go to HDPE liners. The liners weren't expanding and tracting properly with our concrete structures, and we had delamination, I&I issues, and again, breakdowns. And then admixtures would have been the save-all. But inevitably, concrete can't hold up to the corrosive natures of our sewer systems today. And that's what brought us to polymer concrete. It's a full stop to concrete. It's in lieu of concrete, we're using a product that is inert to corrosion. That's what we're going to introduce to you today. Go ahead, Dalton. So let's give you the recipe. For those of you that have a pen or pencil in front of you and want to make some polymer manholes, this is how it's done. We're using resin as our binder. That's the glue essentially that holds everything together. We use resin in lieu of Portland cement. That's one of the first things that we had to remove from the matrix to make a corrosion-proof product. We're going to use a silica sand, again, inert to corrosion, and an aggregate source that will not break down to any levels of H2S we're seeing in our system. And then the magic here is we finish it off with FRP rebar. I'm actually in Chicago right now, and I had the luxury of sitting in the stop and go traffic, and I noticed on the side of the road, the bridges and the sound wall barriers, you see spalling of the concrete and corroding rebar. So as a company, that was the exact reason why we went to an FRP rebar. It hits the same strengths as traditional steel, but it gives us the abilities to be corrosion proof. When you put all 4 of those products together, you're 100% corrosion proof. And that's what the municipalities need when it comes to maintenance of their systems. Strength-wise, we're 3 to 4 times stronger than traditional concrete. And you can see that in the graph here, depending on our mix designs. And then in flexural, it's even more important, is we're 6 to 8 times stronger on flexural, again, depending on mix designs, giving you, the contractor, the capability to put something in the ground that can hold up to your requirements of strength. You don't want product to be flexible or weak. You want it to be strong. And being 3 times stronger than concrete is a great place to start. Let me turn the time over to Gary. Gary is our Northern California salesperson. He's a good friend of mine, and he's going to take you through the plant tour of our Boulder City, Nevada plant. We actually have 3 plants across America, 2 to be announced soon, and he'll take you through the tour. Gary, tear it up.
Thanks, Jared. Go ahead and start the video, Dalton. So as we take a look at this, as Jared mentioned, our plant outside of Las Vegas in Boulder City, this is the process that we use to build our structures. We're going to take your dimensions and put them into our Pico machine, where it is going to cut out the negative. We're going to actually mill it out of styrofoam. This is the way we create our monolithically poured bases. We're actually going to put the dimensions in and mill it out of the foam. And as you can imagine, we take this process very seriously, making sure that we've got the right dimensions, making sure we've got the right inverts and channels milled to your spec. Once the machine has milled it, we're going to smooth out the edges. And Barry there is going to smooth it out. And then we're going to apply a spray coating, as you can see here. And then the gentlemen are going to stack it, secure it. They've got the A anchors on there, and close the doors to the mold. We're going to add the FRP rebar for reinforcement. And then we're going to, as the elements are mixed together, we're going to pour that mud and make sure it's evenly spread about. Then it's going to come out of the form. And in some cases afterwards, we're going to add an extended base. We're going to do some of the buoyancy calculations. I know Drew and Alec are going to talk a little bit about that. And at this point, we're going to move on to the video, finish that. These are the sizes that we've got. If you can do it in concrete, we're able to do it in polymer. Our sizes range from the 48-inch diameter all the way up to the 192-inch. The difference with ours, as Jared mentioned, is the strength that we've got in our products, but we don't have to use as much concrete. For instance, the 48-inch diameter is only going to be 2 inches thick, and we're going to take that diameter all the way up to 192 inches, and that size is only going to be 8 inches thick. So the weight is a little bit less than standard concrete, but because of the low permeability and higher strength, we don't have to use as much of it. And as I mentioned, we have the ability, after we've done that monolithic pour, to add an extended slab. So if you're in an area that has a high water table, we've got that ability. We can put the extended slab on there. So it is added on before we ship it out to your job site. Dalton, next slide. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our 2 senior account managers. Alex Schooley is first up. He is very well versed, has extensive experience with Armorock, and he is my go-to for any questions that I have about installations. Alec, take it away.
Appreciate that, Gary. I really Really appreciate those kind words. So before we get into the actual installation, just to give you a little bit background about myself, I've been with the company for 6 years now, and the main focal point of my career has been, job site installation and job site education. So I started down here in the Southeast doing just small installs as municipalities started to catch on, but I found myself on pretty much all large diameter projects across the country. So there might be some of you on here that I've met before, so hello to you guys. And I'm excited to tell you about Armorock again. So before we actually get into it, some of our lead times that, that's always a common question when the submittals are approved and we're getting ready to move into production. We always ask, what are the lead times? And so for a small diameter, that's 48 to 72s. It's a 2-week lead time as like our fastest turnaround for our standard lead times. And our large diameter does go to 6 weeks. But there are situations where we can go outside of those lead times and do stuff even faster. So one of my favorite stories that actually just happened recently is we received a call on a Tuesday that a contractor was in a pinch. They were behind the 8 ball and they needed structures fast. So we were able to pull together. We had a structure fully poured, shipped and installed by Friday afternoon. So that just goes to show how fast Armorock can install. Now you might ask yourself, how does Armorock, what allows us to ship out stuff that quickly? And it comes around to how fast polymer concrete cures. So we're only in a liquid state for about 45 minutes. And then as it transitions into a solid, we're able to stand on our own weight in about an hour to hour and a half. And then after 24 hours, we're actually able to lift from our anchor points. We're well over 75 to 90% of our strength at that point. And so when the product arrives to your job site, we are all of us are HS20 93 load rated. Dalton, next slide. So now that we've poured it and now we're getting ready to ship it, now what might you expect on your first load? The answer to that is whatever the municipality requires. Armorock, we like to pride ourselves on being a one-stop shop. So whatever the county requires for all accessories, we will adapt to that. Now, there are situations that maybe you guys have a better source to find it. That's totally fine. We'll adapt to that. But this is a great example right here, this picture. This is in Florida. This is a 96 and a 60 getting ready to go out to a project, but this is the same story at all of our other plants. This is what you can expect. Now, after you ship it, you might be asking yourself, well, how do I get it off the back of the truck? And that leads us into our next slide, which is the actual rigging and lifting of our product. So we utilize for our 48s to 72s for our risers and cones, we actually utilize a spreader bar that allows us to pick at a perfect 90 degree. And at the bottom of that, we have threaded lifters that allow us to lift it. And then for everything else, you can use just your standard 3-way bridle for that.
Alec, this is Jared. We just had a quick question from John. Dalton, can we go back to that other slide really quickly? It kind of pertains. John and this is a great time. Remember to type in Q&A if you have any questions, but John wants to know what our weight of our structures is. So if we compare to concrete, because that's what you install all the time, we're 140 to 145 pounds per cubic foot, where concrete is 145 to 150 pounds per cubic foot. So almost identical in weights, but there's more, just like every good info commercial. Our product is typically about a third lighter. That's because of those strengths that we identified earlier gives us the ability to make a thinner wall. Why is that important for you, the contractor? It's so you can install product with smaller equipment. Alex showed a 96-inch lift station on that last truck. That lift station, when we used to make those products out of our old company out of concrete, would typically need a crane to be installed. Because of that weight savings, then we have the abilities, you can install it with the excavator that dug the hole, which is a great cost savings to you, the municipality. And then Alec will explain in a little bit here why that won't pop out of the ground because it is not too light. Take it away, Alec.
All right, thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. So now going into the next slide. So this is an install down here in the Southeast. And this is actually one of those expedited manholes. And so I'm really excited to show you that there's no loss in quality or anything like that. So right here, you can see this is, one of the first steps. So at this point, the contractor has done all their dewatering. They've completely dug out all the soils and they've prepped it at this point. And right here, this is one of the first questions that I get when I'm on the job site is, what does Armorock need to, for the bedding side of things? And the answer is the same as it always is the county, whatever the county requires in this case. So for this install, we're using virgin soils that's compacted. But if you want to use, or if the county requires rock or anything like that, it installs just like concrete at this point. And then also at this point, I want to point out that extended slab that Jared was mentioning. So we're able to cast a monolithically poured extended slab. So that just, the reason why I want to point that out is that's just speed for the contractor, because there's nothing in the field that you have to do in that case. And so that allows us to hit the safety factor that's required for the municipalities. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on with the video. We're going to go to the homing of the pipe. This is the other big advantage of Armorock, is our monolithically poured benching. So with our benching, I'm going to let it play through. So with our benching, we're going to pause right here. After you home it, you can see with our benching, we're perfectly smooth, and that's from the robot. But there's a few other advantages you as a contractor that you'd love. Is we're perfectly smooth, but that monolithically poured base is sorry about that. It prevents leaks because it's all completely, there's no cauldrons because of the monolithic pour. We also have the ability to have a slope deck at this point. So there's no additional field work that is required at this point. We're commonly dubbed the prettiest manhole. Another thing I want to point out that's kind of interesting is you notice that pipe is notched right there, and that's actually intentional. A lot of municipalities are now requiring them to notch that because they've had so many instances of when the vac trucks drop their pipes in, they actually hit the top of the pipes and they split them. So that's something that they're doing to prevent it. Thought that was kind of interesting. All right, we'll move on. So once everything gets once you're to this point, you're going to tighten down the boot clamps. Now, this gentleman's doing the right thing. He's actually using a wrench to hand tighten it. That's the right way to do it. Commonly, people will pull out the impact driver, and I love to give them a hard time saying, absolutely not. You gotta take a step back there, bud. That's how you strip them out and you don't get a good seal. Another question I get is, can you knuckle down on our product? And the answer is yes. Now, you don't want to do major adjustments, but you can bring the weight down. You can see that full excavator's coming down, and they're going to level it out. It just really showcases our strengths. Now, once you get it all already, the next question that comes up is, what do you guys use for the joint? In this case, we are going to use at this point, the county required mastic and a rubber gasket. But there are instances that might require an external wrap. So now moving on, again, that's our spreader bar right there. You can see it's picking the product and it's flying the riser in at a very level. And that's a common thing that contractors love, is they love how level our stuff flies. They can really count when they're bringing it down, everything just lines right up. Now, after they get that set, we're going to move on to the next step. So now, in some cases, you might do some external round, but in this case, we're done and we're able to stack out. And one thing I want to highlight is just, you can see that there's a lot of speed with Armorock in the installation. It's a very quick and fast process. Now, after you do your backfilling, again, a common question is, what does Armorock need for backfilling? And again, the answer is whatever the local municipality requires. It just installs like concrete. And then you're going to finish it off with either a cone or flat top, concentric or eccentric, whatever is required. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the specialty installations of Armorock, and one of them is a doghouse. This is used in situations where you might not be able to shut the line down, and so they actually have to install over it. But on the far left here, what's kind of interesting about this one is they actually pulled what we've dubbed as the pancake slab underneath the product. So there's actually a polymer floor underneath that the riser can then sit on. That's something that the engineer wanted that we were able to provide. But in other cases, like the other doghouse photo there, it's just sitting on concrete. And then another type of manhole that's commonly coming up is a drop manhole. And in some cases, even a fully encased concrete drop block manhole. One thing that we were able to adjust with polymer is you can see that those two drop blocks. So what that actually allows is we encase the elbow in the polymer concrete, so that just speeds it up for the contractor. And you can see the rebar dowels there as well. We're able to tie to it. It's something that the county's asked that we were able to do, but contractors love it because all they have to do is just put the forms on, pour it, and they can move on. It's a very, very fast install. Then a third.
Jared here again. Let me just step in really quickly on those drop manholes. That's been an integral part, especially in Florida, where there's been large amounts of I&I issues over the years. Obviously, we have a lot of water pressures, but by casting that monolithically into our product, there's no potential for water encasement there. When water in the field gets through a system, they typically go after the contractor. That is now our joint to own, and we make sure nothing's going to leak there. It also makes your vacuum testing much, much easier. So it has been a big godsend for a lot of our contractors on the East Coast where water is a major issue.
Perfect. Thanks, Jared. Now moving on, there's a third specialty type of install, and that's called a Tremor caisson method. So this is something that's becoming a lot more popular, that engineers are now utilizing polymer as the kind of last piece of the puzzle to this pretty interesting installation. So what a tremie is, as this video plays, I'll tell you kind of about it. It's where you put a riser section on the soils and you actually pull the soils out from within the structure. So you can see right here, they're using a clamshell and they're pulling it out, and that structure is going to sink into the ground. So it's pretty interesting, but they utilize this in situations like right here. You can see they're right next to a busy road. There's a church just to the left there, and they're right next to power lines. So you can't do a full open excavation. And then we just use riser sections. But if you notice in the first part, there's those special keyways. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but that's part of how it starts. So they start to sink it down, and then we use our normal joints, which is it's what we use to prevent major levels of I&I. But also you can see those metal brackets. So we utilize those brackets to keep the sections together. That's something that's unique to the tremie install, because as that structure is going into the ground, I guess when engineers started and cities started doing tremies, is there was a risk that they could sink in, or that the sections could separate. So that's what they utilize to keep everything together. But other than that, again, it's just a fast install because it just stacks out like a normal structure, and there's no extra insulation, there's no extra coatings or anything that has to happen. But once they get down to their level, what's interesting with tremies is we actually pour a ballast on the inside, because you can't do an external field poured collar like you normally would to hit flotation cap. So what we actually do is we over-sink the structure to a desired depth. So in this case, we went an extra 8 feet, and then we cast concrete on the inside. But those keyways allowed us to mechanically lock everything together. And you might ask, well, how do you determine those depths? Well, we take the geotech report, and that's how we're able to determine it. So that CAD model right there is a great representation of kind of what that particular lift station looks like. You can see those bottom two sections are filled with keyways, and that's what that concrete fills in, and that's how it all locks in together. And there's a good example of geotechnical report. So in that case, the engineer would actually say that tremie wouldn't work because there's granite right there at 16 feet. But that's something that the engineers figure out. So
we have another quick question here that's pertinent to this part of the conversation. And Joseph is asking, are the section where the plates are they cold joints? I'm assuming he's asking if we're epoxy grouting those or using a rubber gasket there.
Yeah, no, it's just a standard precast joint, and that's something that the city loves, because you can't pour and tie that all together. It's nice having a normal joint like that, because you want something that can have some adjustment and flexibility. So great question on that. But at this point now, I'm going to hand it off to Drew. Drew's the West Coast Senior Account Manager. He's a good friend of mine, and he's the backbone of the West. So take it away, Drew.
Thanks, Alec. Super excited to be here with you all, talking all things polymer concrete installations. One of the commonly asked questions that we receive at Armorock is if we can core through our product. Simple answer is yes. As we all know, plan sets and what gets produced doesn't exactly line up for what's out there in the field, and so modifications are needed and required. As you see what's happening now in this video, they have mounted their equipment to core through just like you would with traditional concrete. One thing to keep in mind is that because of the strengths aforementioned, it is going to take about 33% longer to do so, and you're still using a diamond tipped drill bit. This does not affect the warranty whatsoever. You still get that 50-year warranty even if you have to core through, and it really makes for an easy transition into field modifications. The last installation that we'll discuss today happens to be one of my favorites. It's our rehab installations. Once a structure has been affected by H2S gas and it has been eaten away, the concrete has been eaten away, there is no saving that concrete. No matter how many times you line it or put a coating on, it's still not putting back the concrete. We call those Band-Aid fixes in the industry, is what we refer to them as. Armorock has the best solution to date with our rehab structural inserts. As you can see here, this is a 48 or a 60-inch diameter manhole. Our ID is 7 inches less, so that you can slip line that structure, giving you an 1.5 inch gap between the two products. You can core into these just as easily. It's the exact same product as you've been seeing in the polymer concrete, and it is put together with simply just mastic. The major benefit to this is that even as the structure continues to corrode and fall in and cave away, our inserts will not. They are structurally sound. They add the integrity back to the overall lift station and or manhole. And they're finishing it off here with a cone and a flat lid. The only thing that you'll have
Drew,
to,
if you don't mind me just butting in really quickly, one of the benefits of adding a polymer insert in this scenario is a lot of times when you're doing a rehabilitation on a manhole, especially you, the contractor, you have to have a third party come in and coat that for you. This structure gives you ability to install a manhole inside of a manhole that's structural, unlike a rubber coating, and you can install it yourself. You don't need that third party. That's a time savings for you and a cost savings for the municipality putting a sustainable product in the ground. Thanks, Drew.
yeah, thank you, Jared. The last thing I would mention is you will still need to come up with whatever is specified in the municipality for the benching, usually epoxy or grout. So right here, we're going to show you a couple of examples of our shop drawings. These will come with every project that we do for every single structure. They're what are used in the submittal process that you get signed off, that we can then enter these into our production, and our facilities use these exact same shop drawings. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things here. The structure name and location is up here at the top, and right below that you see the design build heights, giving the information as to what we're building. In the middle section here, there are the pipe sizes and the boot connections that will be used in the stack out. Below that, there's going to be elevation and plan views depicting the angles as well as the heights of each piece of the structure. And probably the most important piece to keep in mind when looking through our shop drawings is the very bottom section. We call it our bill of materials. So it's a line item of each piece that will come with the stack out, calling it out by name as to what it is. And on the right hand side here are the weights. So each piece gives its own weight, telling you as the contractor how heavy a piece is going to be so that you can have the proper equipment to offload and install the manhole.
Drew,
You can see, yep.
I have one more question that popped up from Blake. He says, can the buoyancy collar be poured in on site? That's a great question, especially if you look at the stack up sheet you're showing for the 192. Can you answer that?
Yeah, so that is a great question, and it does happen all the time. We can pour those in our plant. It's actually beneficial on a large structure like this to do it in field due to the size. Once you get past, this is a 208-inch outside diameter structure, and shipping those can become quite the nightmare and very costly. So one of the solutions is to have this done on site. When that takes place, we will pre-drill the holes for our dowels, and we'll send the rebar dowels out with the structure. You can then place them and pour to whatever dimensions you have. And it can be done in traditional concrete as you have that mechanical lock or mechanical connection with the rebar dowels. On a 60-inch, I guess it can work for any size of diameter, but we can easily pour those in our plants. But yeah, if there's some differing dimensions that aren't super standard, we can accommodate for those as well. We'll go to the next slide here, Dalton. And we're going to lastly talk about our accessories. So on the left here, you see our boots. The typical boots that we use can be cast in and or jacked in at the plant. These are typically Trelleborg, press seal, link seal, whatever is specified on the project is what we can provide. On the right-hand side, we have polymer grade rings, which are made from the same polymer material you've seen thus far, giving you what the adjustment requires to get to grade. We also provide hatches and or rings and covers. We do recommend that you source these yourselves, as you might have a local contact, but we would be more than willing and happy to quote them for you as well. If you are sourcing them, we advise you to ship the hatch and or frames and covers to our plant, and we can cast those in. All we'll need are the dimensions for the hatches for the top slabs, and it's just like any other traditional concrete structure.
Drew, we have another quick question here that was in this scenario will be a good one. They want to know what type of grade rings we can use, concrete, brick, etc. What do you suggest, and what do we commonly send with our products?
So we send either our polymer grade rings, as you just saw, or Cretex Pro rings. Basically, whatever is specified in your municipality or on the project is what we'll recommend or what we'll use. So we do have a couple of different options, but we will work with anything and everything. I'm sure you can use concrete, although it's not going to bond well with our product. So we always recommend, if you're going to go the concrete route, to use our polymer instead.
Another question for you on this one, Drew. What is the lead time if you want custom cover or hatches? Do you know offhand?
Great questions. We usually go third party to a third party for them, so we can include those with our quote. It depends on the manufacturer at that point. So hatches can be anywhere from 4 to 16 weeks. I've seen frames and covers as far out as 9 weeks. So they are important to decide who will be sourcing those and get the ball rolling. Our concrete, like Alec mentioned before, our polymer concrete is quite quickly curing and can be delivered lightning fast. Whereas if we have to wait for additional hatches or things to be shipped to the facility, it's not a problem. It's just going to take another truckload to do so. And then the last accessory that we'll talk about is our polymer grout. So upon installing the product, you may run into scratches or nicks, chips along the way, and that is what our polymer grout is used for, the annular space. In the pictures you're seeing here, this municipality has specified, and it's probably on the more extreme side of things, they have specified that any annular space within the bench or in the troughing and the channel needs to be filled with the polymer grout. And so on the left-hand side, you see it before, and on the right-hand side, you see it after. And that's just so that there's nothing caught up in any of these spaces, but that is what the grout's for.
Drew, while we're there on that slide, on the left there, a customer wants to know, do we use steel? And if so, where do we use it? And you can see that clearly in that picture on the left.
Yeah, great question. That? Yeah, absolutely. So our A anchors are going to be steel, just as any other A anchor is. And the good thing about polymer concrete is even if the steel will eventually corrode, or it can be filled in with the grout, but even if it does corrode, it's not going to affect anything within the structure itself. So it'll corrode away and it will just remain still 100% corrosion proof. And now we're going to watch 3 interviews from all across the nation from contractors. We really appreciate our relationships that we develop with contractors. It's one of my favorite things about working at Armorock is the friendships and relationships I have formed with so many people across the country. They're going to tell you a little bit, not only about the product, but also about their experience with working with us.
Hey, McKay Worthen with Armorock. Today we're with Whitaker Construction. Trent Deert here today, and he's a project manager for him. So Trent, you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
So since working with Armorock, how do you feel about the product?
I think they're great. Some of the best manholes. I know the longevity's there. I know the ease of installation for our crews. Our crews appreciate when they're on an Armorock manhole. They set like a standard manhole. They're easier to install. So overall, just a positive experience using the Armorock manholes in our jobs.
Is your experience working with the team been all right?
Okay, so yeah, we've had good, responsive. I mean, even this project we're on now, we've had to have a number of revisions and redraws, and the response time's been great and really helped us out.
Tell me about one of your more memorable or bigger projects you've done with us and how it went.
It's great. The last project we had, just a mile from here, we did a hill-filled road project. Used the manholes. It was great. Just had some struggles on the job. Being a state road, was really busy. Just being able to put these manholes in and know how they would set and that they would handle what we have to do was good to have.
Overall, would you recommend Armorock to other contractors and municipalities and engineers?
I would, for sure. In fact, when we do talk to other municipalities, when the idea fiberglass manholes or polymer manholes come up, we definitely recommend or suggest they at least give Armorock a look, because we do like the product that you get and the finished product that lasts with these manholes.
Hi, my name is Dalton and I'm here with Scott, and he's going to tell us about his experience with Armorock. What do you like best about Armorock and our product?
The simplicity. It's easy to handle, it's lighter, it's smaller, it's easy to put together. So far, everything's going well.
What has your experience been installing the product?
Very simple. It goes together quickly. You don't have to wrap the joints. It's much easier than the old style stuff. The nice thing is that if you guys can get it here in a quick manner. You got us out of a jam. We were a little bit behind the 8 ball, and you guys brought the product out here, and it really helped us out.
Would you recommend Polymer to others, and why?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a much easier product to use. It goes together quickly, smoothly, and the comparison's night and day.
Hi, my name's Chris New. I'm the Vice President of EP Brady. We learned about the Armorock product through a City of Conroe sanitary sewer project that we recently completed.
How would you describe your overall experience with Armorock?
We've had a great experience with Armorock as far as the product and the service that we received. We had a couple of instances where we had to do some field changes based upon the existing utilities, and the support staff from Armorock was extremely helpful. The product has been absolutely fantastic. We like the fact that they're precast structures. There's no ancillary buoyancy control required with the structures. They're lightweight, so we can use smaller equipment to handle larger structures. It allows us to work in more of a remote area without the need for additional trucks and concrete and all the support stuff that goes along with it. So we found that it's just been a very contractor-friendly product.
Would you recommend Armorock to others? Why or why not?
Yeah, I certainly would. In the ever-changing sewer world, we've really leaned on new products, and the innovation of this specific product has really helped us increase our productions in these large diameter sewer markets, where space is critical, your logistics are critical, and it's overall just kind of been a perfect fit for the kind of stuff that we do. From a contractor standpoint, they're very easy to install. It saves time. Time is money, and we can continue backing up and putting pipe in the ground so we can make our money and move on to the next project.
So we don't want you to just take our word for it. As you've seen in these 3 interviews and countless of other testimonials we've gathered, Armorock is not only an amazing product, but an amazing company to work with. We pride ourselves in valuing your relationships and know the task and the pressure that is on you as contractors to achieve an install and get things buttoned up as quickly as possible. And whether it's your first install or your 50th, we would love to be on site answering any questions along the way. We have an expansive sales team who can be reached and be local just about anywhere. So with that being said, we'll turn the time back over to our good friend Gary in Northern California. Gary, back to you.
Thanks, Drew. And what we tried to point out to you and communicate is we want to provide you with as much information as possible. We know that information is key, and your ability to perform on the job site, do the job as effectively as you possibly can, comes with the information. So as Drew showed you in those stack out sheets, we know you use those on the job site. You want to know what the weights are. You want to know what the size is. In a quick reference, we want to provide you with as much detail as we possibly can. So we've got an attentive group of sales managers able to assist. If someone is in your area, definitely reach out to us. Please put your name, your phone number, your email in the chat. We'll have someone reach out to you if you've got some other questions. We're going to go through some Q&A. the thing that we want you to take away is that polymer concrete is the next step. It's evolutionary. As Jared mentioned early on, when Vince started the company, he was looking for a better solution. Polymer is that better solution. It is stronger, it's lighter weight, it's low permeability, and it's H2S resistant. It's the product that is going to become the standard. It is standard throughout a large part of the country in different areas and different municipalities who have used it. And we think over the next 10 years, it will be the standard. We are that confident. With that, let's get into the Q&A. We've answered some of the questions, but again, if you've got anything specific and you would like someone to reach out to you, again, put your name, your phone number, and your email in the chat, and we'll have your local representative reach out to you. If not, please put your questions in the chat. I'm going to turn it back over to Jared and Alec.
Thank you again. All right. It looks like we have enough time here, about 8 minutes, to follow up with some Q&A, and then we'll go into Dalton, and she's going to do a little challenge for an opportunity to win some fun prizes. We've had some great questions so far. I'm going to answer these. I'll tie in Alec and Drew when necessary. First question here, and Alec, we'll let you handle this. This is from Oak. How does it hold up to freeze-thaw cycles?
Holds up great, just like it normally would. There's no concerns. We've had product. Actually, Jared, you're going to be going looking at it. One of our oldest products is actually up in the Midwest up there. So we do great.
One of the reasons, and that's a great question, and thank you for asking it, freeze thaw is a very important thing. Anyone who has a concrete driveway knows that it expands and contracts, and that's what causes the cracking in there. So when you have a product that is incurable, can't even pronounce the word, it will not expand or contract and cause spalling, that's because our materials work together. Fiberglass rebar and our resin base expand and contract equally, eliminating any cracking. Great question there. Thank you. Let's see here. This one's from Adrian. Do you have a standard detail? And if a standard detail if we need to core a hole into an Armorock manhole? Alec, what's the status on coring and where can they core on our product?
So that is a great question. So the answer is we do have it in our details, but the biggest thing to take away is it doesn't void the warranty. So there's no concern around coring. It happens all the time, especially our municipalities where we've been installed for a couple of years now. They're now coring into existing structures, and there's definitely a peace of mind with that because they can core right into it, no problem.
We have another question here from Jennifer. Let's see, what all factors make them easier to install and how much quicker are they to install? I'll answer that. So as we mentioned earlier, our products are typically a third lighter than traditional concrete. That means you can use smaller equipment. Smaller equipment leaves a smaller footprint and cheaper and quicker to install. There's not a huge savings on install times there, but you'll definitely save on machinery and handling time. And then of course, just follow up with those same dirt installs as you would on traditional concrete structure. And that's because we have that structure that holds up to it. Let's see, we have another one here. Alec, handle this one. This one's from Joseph. Do you use the grout the area with the inserts? I believe he's asking about the exterior of the rehab structure. What type of grout are you filling that annular space with?
I'm actually going to bounce that one to Drew because he covered the rehabs.
Yeah, so you can, our polymer grout is not used for the application of the benching. So whatever is specified in your local area to be used for epoxy, what's on your APLs or epoxy grout, that's what you're going to put and cover the bench with. That's the only thing that you're going to have to continue to rehab, just as any other manhole out there. But the structural inserts, go ahead.
I think the question on that was more along what type of grout you fill the annular space between the polymer manhole and the existing manhole in a rehab scenario. And in that scenario, that annular space does need to be filled. And you typically do it with a 3-bag slurry mix. and that will help eliminate as your existing manhole continues to deteriorate from falling in and losing grade on the road. Let's see, we already did this one. All right, this one. Can shop drawings be provided with the quote? Drew, you're on there. Explain when they can see a shop drawing and where it comes.
Yeah, so our software that we use to come up with quotes will actually produce the quote and shop drawings at the same time. So you typically will receive them upon a bid request. You'll receive them as soon as we send the quote out. So if you haven't, you can always reach out and let us know, and we should be able to provide them.
There is something to note there also. Our bids and our our bids and our stack up drawings are very thorough. Most customers just assume that's also a submittal. We actually have a more in-depth submittal package that we'll send to you. Submittals take 24 hours to have a turnaround and in your possession. And bidding purposes, we always try to have the bid turned around to you in a maximum of 3 business days. And if it's an emergency scenario, let your account manager or salesperson know, and we'll have the bid to you that same day.
Jared, I got Adrian came in with a follow-up question that I want to answer. So he asked, so this is in regards to the coring. He asked, will the surface left exposed by the cored hole need to be coated? And that's one of the big advantages of Armorock is no. You core through it, you can leave exposed aggregate. It does not void the Armorock warranty. It's not like a liner where you have to get in there and cover up everything to make sure it gets back to it. Armorock is the same product all the way through. So that's what I was talking about with that peace of mind of, you can core into it, no problem, leave exposed aggregate. There are some municipalities that ask for it to be covered, but in our reality, it does not affect the performance of the product. So great question on that.
Great. We have another question here asking about our strengths. When Armorock's polymer matrix performed in terms of chemical resistance beyond H2S. So there are many cases where we have been asked to go into locations rather than just sewer systems. This commonly happens when we're looking in cleaning facilities or large operations like paper mills. Interesting part about polymers is it's a chemical type product, this resin. So we can manipulate our mix designs to hit whatever your standards are. So if you have a standard that differs from the H2S corrosion that we see in sewer systems and pH levels in sewer systems, reach out to us and we can adjust those mixes when necessary. Let's see here. What is the minimum separation required between cores in a single barrel to keep the structure stability? Alec, you want to take that one?
Sure. So, that is definitely a very complex question. Luckily, what we have is we have a document that tells us how tight of an angle we can do in the size of holes. So if you want, we could definitely follow up and send that out to you so you have an idea of that. That's a great question.
Alec, on manholes in general, can we hold those tolerances tighter than traditional concrete structures?
Definitely tighter. So when we pour product on our with our robot and stuff, we can do much tighter angles because we actually bring we call it an eyebrow in, so that allows us to do it. But when you're coring, you even have a little bit more flexibility. But like I said, we have a document that if you really want to play around with some tight angles, we can definitely get that for you, and it tells you what size of hole and what diameter is the tightest you can go with it.
Sorry, I'm reading through these questions as we go. Let's see. Are all manhole bases 48 inches through 192 inches poured monolithic?
So that's another great question. We are monolithic up to a 120. Once we get bigger than that, it's just too heavy to do in one pour because we actually wouldn't be able to ship it at that point. Because of just the weight. So what we actually do is pretty interesting. We actually break it up into what we call the Lego style. So the troughing is still all still 100% polymer, but it is shipped in pieces so we can get it on a truck. So great question on that.
Yeah, so that means, and you all saw the robot during our video, it showed a 7-axis router carving everything out of foam. That's so we can have a monolithic base. So up to 120 inch, we can make it a full trough depth decking. It's a really unique process, and it gives us the abilities to match up to any municipality standards. We have time for one more question here. Let's see, one just popped in, and then we're going to get straight into the Dalton questionnaire, which is a lot of fun. Okay, this is a great one. Why don't you pour your product in the field? So as you all know, we're a precast products. Alec, take it away.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna take that one. Yeah. So right now we don't have the ability to do large volume. We have our polymer grout kits, but with polymer with the manufacturing process, there's not really a good field application right now. But there are some ways we work around it. It's like the Trebi install. If the city wants it to be 100% polymer on the inside, obviously we can't pour a floor. So what we'll actually do is we'll do a field cast floor and we'll actually drop it in. That's a very common thing to do in that case. Or in other cases, we do drop in inverts, but we get creative with how we work around it.
I'm going to take one more before I turn it over to Dalton. There's so many good questions coming in. This one says, does Armorock manufacture lift stations and any other shapes other than round? Yes, we'll make any structure that can be shipped. Bring on the challenges. Some are more difficult than others, but we'll find unique ways to do them. One of the newest projects we're working on right now is an MSE style structure, so we can build a structure inside of a structure. When that's ready to roll out, we'll have the ability to build a box inside of a box and give you that corrosion protection that's needed of any size. So thank you all for the great questions. I'm going to turn it over to Dalton. We look forward to following up with all of you. Dalton, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you all speakers and for everyone who attended it today. We really appreciate it. So next we are going to have our Kahoot, which is just a 10-question quiz. In the top 3 winners will earn some Armorock merchandise. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and share this. Just go to www.kahoot.it, and then you will enter this game pin here. Perfect. And you guys should be able to see this now.
Dalton, what was the website they go to again?
So it's right here on the screen as well. So www.kahoot.it, and then enter that game pin and a nickname. Some important things to note with Kahoot. So you get points for answering the correct question as well as answering it quickly. So keep that in mind when you're answering. It's about time and answering the correct question. Also, the top 3 winners, can you please put your name and your email address in the Q&A chat so I can make sure to reach out to you afterwards. And I'm just going to let it go a few minutes while everyone's signing in, and then we will get this thing started.
For those of you that have not done this before, this is a lot of fun. You should all really enjoy it. And it's quite easy. Just be the fast one on the answers.
Just a few more seconds, and then we will get this thing started. Okay, I'll give you like 10 more seconds, and then we're going to start. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And I will read the questions out loud as well. So the first question, how to install, oh, that's not the first question. Got it. Perfect. First question, why is polymer concrete advantageous in wastewater environments? Perfect. Got James in first place here. Second question, what is Armorock structure's compressive strength? A little bit more of a tricky one. What structure diameters does Armorock produce? Question 4. What equipment is used to lift an Armorock 48-inch to 72-inch riser and cone? Question 5. How should the pipe band be tightened during installation? Alec talked specifically to this one today. Question 6. What is a Tremie/caisson installation? Got some change in the leaderboard there. Question 7. What tool can be used to core through Armorock polymer concrete? Question 8. What is not listed on the stack out sheet? Not listed.
Got a trick question in there, Dalton.
Totally, it's not going to be easy. Coming down to the wire here. 2 more questions. Question 9. What is the primary boots used with Armorock structures?
That's the
Dalton, I'm
Okay.
excited to see who wins this overall thing. It's gone back and forth a couple times.
I know, and this is so we have 1 question left, and then we have top 3 winners. So here we go. Last question. Who won the 2025 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship? Really hard question.
For you who don't know, Dalton and many of our team members are from Kansas. Maybe we should ask how quickly Kansas got kicked out of the tournament.
I don't want to talk about the Kansas basketball right now. Dun, 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 dun. So in 3rd place, we have Charlie E. 2nd place, we have Joseph B. And in 1st place, we have PDK. So can the 3 of you please send me your names and emails and put those in the chats. Congratulations and thank you for playing. Really appreciate it. It's always fun and hopefully you learned a little bit more about Armorock and took something away there. So I am just going to share my screen one more time and put the our feedback form and PDH credit QR code up here for anyone who is interested in either one of those. We do really appreciate your feedback. So if you could take just a few seconds to fill that out, that would be appreciated. But if not, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and thank you so much for attending. There you go.
We'll see you on our next webinar soon.
Thank you all for attending.
For everyone else still on here, I'm going to leave this up for 30 more seconds and then I'm going to end it. Thank you.